At a time when the world is connected more than ever before, UK's Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is mulling a crackdown on social media access for children under the age of 16 years, with a potential ban in the pipeline. Reports suggest that Rishi Sunak's government is making this move after concerns over the evidence of the extent of harm that children are at risk from when they use social media. According to Ofcom, which is a wing of the UK government, 88% children between ages 3 and 16 use YouTube, 53% use TikTok, 46% are on Snapchat, and 41% have Instagram profiles. With child pornography to violent videos being very easily available on social media, there have been concerns not just of inappropriate content, but also the mental health crisis that children and teens are undergoing. Addiction, anxiety, body image issues, peer pressure, and an inability to distinguish reality from social media are some of the challenges that have emerged as a result of unregulated content and usage of social media. Now, UK is planning to begin these consultations early next year, but the question is it too late? Remember, the UK recently passed the Online Safety Act as well, which basically increases the responsibility of social media giants in protecting children on the internet, including age verification obligations. Now, whether this complete ban will be implemented by the UK will be known in some time, but it certainly makes one introspect about our own social media space and its regulation. To talk more on this, I'm joined on the broadcast by Akash Banerjee, also known as Deshbhakt. He's joining us on the show tonight. Good evening, Akash. Thank you very much for speaking with Mirror Now. Let me start by asking you, Akash, is it too late to be pondering over this question whether we should be banning social media completely for children under the age of 16 years, or do we still have time left?
No, it's never, ever too late. You see, the social media landscape has been evolving very rapidly. I know it's like, is it going to be anti-free speech when you're talking about, asking, youngsters not to go for social media up to 16 years? I'll go a step ahead, maybe say that beyond 60 years also, there should be some sort of a restriction, is because the kind of deadly impact that social media has, we are seeing it on a daily basis. The younger generation that is coming up doesn't know any other media. They don't watch television. They're not watching this discussion that we are having at this point of time. The Ofcom data that you're suggesting is a little bit too optimistic, I think, plus 80% on YouTube. If you look at US data, it's already 80% plus on TikTok. 75% to 80% of US teenagers are getting their news information or whatever views they are building on the world out of TikTok. 1-minute videos, complicated political issues are being explained in 1 minute. That's where we are heading. Now, should we try to understand that this will have a long-term ramification on the youngsters who will not have the habit of rigor, of reading, of understanding complicated issues, having debates, discussions? So there has to be very clearly some sort of guidelines, may not be completely forced. Today, it is acceptable. 10 to 12 years old, we don't want to give social media to kids younger than that. Why should it not go up to 16? I would say that there is very good reason with AI coming in that it should go up to 16 till we understand the beast that we are dealing with, including the fact that senior citizens, for that matter, because they know that the written word is the gospel. They think that whatever is written on a WhatsApp message is the gospel truth. So unless and until there is more education, we are headed down a deep, dark path.
But can I also ask you, Akash, the fact that under 16 is a very large segment that is using social media, is it even possible to go for a complete ban for this segment, which is a large consumer base, even for the social media companies, who will not be very happy with this decision, of course?
Social media companies will never be happy with anything. Let's get one thing absolutely loud and clear. Social media companies usually, with maybe I would say sometimes I don't regard YouTube as a social media company, is more of a content platform. I have seen that platform take its responsibility a little bit more seriously than what the others do. if you look at the other platforms, they are there to ensure that there is outrage, there is abuse, there is fights, because that is what drives engagement. So first and foremost, let us be very clear that by and large, social media companies are not going to ensure this to happen. They're not going to do it voluntarily. It will be a regulation that comes in from the top, ensuring. A very good example of this, if you talk about historically, is the proliferation of child pornography on the internet. It took concerted attempts and efforts of the governments that has resulted in child pornography as a major scourge of the internet to be reduced. So it's about understanding this beast, and it is then about legislating actual things that can happen. Now, I am not a very big fan of the word ban. Could it be more regulated? Could it be more voluntary? Could it be more systematic? If it is systematic to till 10, 12 years old, and by the way, algorithms understand everything. I mean, the internet knows a lot more about us than maybe our family members do. Things are possible. I always use this as an example. Is once I was uploading a video onto Facebook, and while uploading the video upload got stalled. You know why? Is because the algorithm detected a few seconds of a copyrighted music content that was being uploaded while the upload was on, and it halted the upload from going on. So the algorithms are capable of doing a lot of things. The social media platforms are capable of doing a lot of things. The question is, do they want to? No. Can they be made to? Yes.
Which is, what we also get to know, Akash, when people like Mark Zuckerberg say that we don't let our children use mobile phones or social media apps after a certain time. That itself, of course, is self-explanatory with the fact and the fact that these platforms are made to be more and more addictive. The algorithm is created to make these apps more and more addictive for the user. And therefore, Akash, that leads me to my next question. The fact that these safety features that are shown on these apps, every time here on my phone, if I'm opening my Instagram account or Facebook account or even Twitter, these features, the safety features, are not very, in your face. They're not out there to tell you that, listen, this is the safety feature we have. You have to go into the settings and you have to click another button, and inside there is somewhere you will find some safety feature which you have to activate. But that defeats the purpose, doesn't it? You have to have it right there so that the user can make a choice whether you want it or not.
So this is, of course, legendary, what you mentioned. All the big Silicon Valley gurus and tech titans, they know fully well the risks of and the addictiveness of social media platforms and how these platforms are designed and they keep their children away. That itself has been a huge red flag from a very, very long time. And now over time, as we are studying and we are understanding social media, remember smoking. I mean, it used to be cool at one point of time, and you could smoke anywhere, and it was there was no health ramification. It was only after class action suits that happened and research happened. It turned out that, well, the cigarette companies, the Marlboros of the world, actually knew about the carcinogenic properties. They hid it. In the same way, if there is more concerted attempts to ensure the safety of children, much more information might actually come out. Maybe we don't even know exactly how damaging is it for the next generation. Because, living on social media, working on social media, I can see the damage that is happening. I am not going to be surprised if there is a lot more muck out there, maybe internal studies out there, which we are not aware of and which we need to be aware of. And then legislation awareness will come into play. As far as settings and regulations, it's like forcing Apple to come to a common USB standard. Once there is a concerted attempt by governments getting together and understanding the larger picture, trust me, all sorts of functionalities and ease of UI will kick in. I have no doubt about that. It's only because they are reluctant, because every bit of, everybody's fighting for users. Elon Musk with his entire tech wizardry and money power that he has is still trying to make sure that that Twitter really stands up and makes a lot more profit and makes him a lot more powerful. Zuckerberg is still hanging on to Facebook, although Facebook is of course dying, but Instagram is growing at this point of time. YouTube, of course, growing. Facebook. So the thing is that everybody wants viewers. Nobody's going to do it willingly, as I'm saying. It will be the governments that have to step in. But point, it can't be just one government. So when EU does something, that carries a lot of weight. So there has to be a concerted understanding, concerted study across governments, because this is not a political issue. This is a generational issue. And like smoking, I would say that this is smoking for the brain. We are overloading information. We are giving wrong information, misinformation. And let's not forget, AI is around the corner. What is the kind of history? What are the kind of facts that kids will now understand with AI completely changing each and everything? You can't even believe a picture anymore. I mean, we thought pictures
But I'll tell you what,
truth.
Akash.
Well, now it can't be. You would be anchoring and saying something completely different on AI.
Yeah.
And kids wouldn't know.
Yeah. But you know what? It would be interesting to see whether these safety features actually work for the users, because you gave an example of cigarette, and how many people actually stop smoking when they see that that warning on the smoking on the cigarette packs. So that we'll have to see. But my last question to you, Akash, you talked about followers and how everybody wants more and more followers. And therefore, influencers like yourselves also are vying for followers and, reaching more and more people. Therefore, more responsibility and more accountability of young influencers like you also, who are, making an impression on young minds out there.
So, ironically, this is, of course, a hard fact of the content that we do. I mean, you may call it sour grapes, but that's okay. What is the kind of content that is being consumed? What is the kind of shows that work on television, for example, Big Boss? What is the kind of content that works on social media, daily vlogs? Is it going to add something to my knowledge? Is it going to make me sharper, more intelligent? No. So that's another whole rabbit hole, is what sort of content is working? What sort of influencers are working? Is it knowledge-based influencers? Are they fact-based influencers? Or it is just the lowest common denominator of entertainment that is working on social media? Unfortunately, despite having all the free data in the world, people are not really upskilling themselves. They are not making more of the knowledge that they can get or asking questions. They are using it for base entertainment, which is not adding anything to their lives. So while I would like to be responsible, unfortunately, I can't say that every content creator out there is going to be responsible. We would like the number of subscribers so that we are able to stay afloat. There are many other content creators and entertainment content creators who will just create for the heck of creating any and everything that will give numbers, whether be it twerking, whether be it dancing, whether be it creating scenes on a public platform, whether be it fake fights, anything goes.
Right. So we'll have to see, and we'll have to, of course, introspect a lot. We'll leave it there, Akash Banerjee. Thank you very much for joining us on the show and sharing your perspective on this social media regulation and this vast space of social media. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, with that, let's also talk to Gitanjali Kumar, who's a psychologist. She's joining us, and Anshul Agarwal, founder of XR Central, also joining us on the broadcast. Thank you very much for patiently waiting, both of you. Gitanjali, I'd like to start with you. We just heard Akash talk about how, there is a lot of, responsibility on the social media companies, a lot of action that needs to be taken by the governments around the world, come together and make some common regulations. But that is about, the guidelines and all of that. But in terms of the impact that social media has on children below the age of 16, it's been a tremendous, deep impact of social media where, why even blame children? We have adults who can't even differentiate between what is real and what is social media content. So that really having a deep penetrating impact on the mind.
There is no denial about it, and that is perhaps the reason why this debate is on, why the government is thinking of bringing such a ban. what the policies, the change in the policies, what they're thinking about, we really, really will have to consider, because the young mind, how they are growing in terms of what is happening to their physical health and their mental health, whether it is their eyes, whether it is their wrist, whether it is back, whether it is their butt, every part of the body is getting affected. And not only that, the growth of the brain, the kind of facts which they are consuming, are they matured enough to process that? The abundance of knowledge which they are flooded with, what do they do with that knowledge? So we are actually planting bonsais for ourselves, and that too bonsais which wilt away so soon. We really will have to look at our children in terms of they they are encountering episodes of brain fogging, their memories getting affected, their recalls, their logical reasonings, all getting affected in terms of skill development, and which is definitely going to affect their higher order skills which an employer would look for. Then time management, procrastination, social anxiety. I have professionals who are working so
Gitanjali, would it help?
responsibly tend to tell me this fact.
Would it
Sorry.
help if the parents can intervene? You know, if the parents intervene, I know there is a lot of tussle when it comes to
Yes.
regulating content and editing out content between parents and children. I mean, we've had that when we were children and we weren't allowed to watch certain content on television. But
Yes.
is there a way out in social media as well, where the parents can at least, decide on when to give the phone to the child and what sort of
Certainly.
content is being watched on that phone?
So now again, we'll have to look into the parenting angles. How the parent is parenting the child. What are the rules and boundaries that a parent sets up with their children? What is the kind of communication they make in the house? How much time the parent is going to sit with the child and see what the child is watching, and explain to the child the impact of what the child is watching, and why they do not want their child to watch something. And before all this, my major concern is, what are we role modeling to the child? How much time a parent is spending on the social media platform? What kind of
Hmm.
information, my personal images, my where I am eating a meal, I'm putting everything on the social media sites, and I expect my children to abstain from doing all this. So the parents' role will have to be very, very
Hmm.
responsible, and perhaps they will have to first make a lot of checks and corrections in their day-to-day interactions. So that technically we are talking about the
Right.
technological detox. I was just reading across your headers. So somewhere the parents will have to practice that. And what can be the alternative activities
Hmm.
which a child and a parent can do together? We have actually
Hmm. Hmm.
started
Okay.
using it as a substitute. It is a babysitter for the child. It is a means for storytelling for the child. It is helping the child to learn poems,
Hmm.
watch some facts about the subject knowledges, take online sessions. Everything is happening through this. So everywhere we feel this is the only panacea available for the child in the child's life. So how do we
Hmm.
regulate? How do we
Okay.
provide substitutes for the child which are less toxic, but less harmful for the child? So somewhere the parents
Yeah.
will definitely have to take
Okay.
a plunge along with the schools also. All the stakeholders will have to come into
Okay.
action.
Okay. Okay. Let me get in Anshul Agrawal on this. Anshul, then therefore, what is the way forward when we use social media? Is there an alternate safe way of scrolling through our social media apps, specifically when children have accounts on social media?
Yeah, I mean, there absolutely is. See, we should understand the fact that, technology is something that we have created. So we know where it can be stopped and where it can really it begin. And especially when it comes to the kids, I think the biggest example is, let's take an example of YouTube. You know what they have done? They actually have a YouTube Kids. That means they are refraining a lot of kids to look at some of the content which are not meant for them. You know, and I, being a parent, like Gitanjali ma'am, you were just mentioning, I have a 4-year-old son. And for us, I think we don't let him go on YouTube as regular, but he watches YouTube as kids. But yes, to the point, I did fail because I had to give him a mobile because I don't have time to spend with him. So having said that, I think age gating is one of the ways that a lot of social media are trying to implement the way to keep a check on that, the type of content. But at the same time, it's a fact that most of the kids, they are and especially in India, there's a trend nowadays which is happening in every family. You'll find that someone or the other is trying to become an influencer on social media, because social media has given birth to a lot of um, you can say jobs. So people are really thinking that it's very, very cool. So a lot of families, they have wannabe influencers, and they're just creating content, and they're actually involving kids in it, whether it's about giving a vlog about a recent travel, or a vlog
Yeah.
about their
Anshul, I'll also ask you what I asked Akash. I'll also ask you, Anshul, what I asked Akash, how much of a responsibility do social media companies carry? Like Akash said, that they're not going to willingly do that themselves because that's their revenue model. That's how they are earning and spreading across the world. But if government intervention does, happen and is able to bring in a concrete, solid plan to regulate social media, do you think that could be one of the most concrete ways of going ahead with this? Because you can't completely do away with social media. It's now part of our lives. It's deeply penetrated our lives. A lot of companies are based on these social media apps. A lot of careers are based on these social media apps. So do you think that could be one of the more concrete ways of going about it?
Yeah, I mean, look, the social media companies, at the end of the day, they are accountable and responsible. And then there needs to be not only the government intervention, but even the companies themselves should come out with policies, because ultimately it's these social media companies who are giving the right for the new creators to come and create content. But there needs to be some strict terms and conditions for them, the type of content you're creating, the type of age gating that you should provide if there is a certain type of content. And yes, you're absolutely right, the government has a big hand to play into this. There is a lot of intervention that they need to come in with, but it's not going to happen with a government of a single country. I mean, it has to be a collective effort, because social media is now spreading like a virus. And it's actually become and I'll just say this: social media is actually a way of freedom. It's a way of expression. I recently visited Japan, and to my surprise, many of the people in Japan, they think that they're not good looking. So that's why they say that social media is our way of expression, because we don't want to go in public as a physical person. So we want to just use social media and our own virtual identities to really talk to the people. So you're absolutely right, it's going to be the government who have a role to play. But more than that, I believe that it's the companies who have created these platforms to really come out with some stringent terms and condition, the type of content, the type of scrutinization when it comes to auditing the content that they are putting in. They should release a lot of reports in
Okay.
and a lot of analysis
Yeah.
in terms of what sort of content is being consumed by which age group. And then that's where a lot of government
Yeah, I think
intervention
we can
comes
have
in.
as many
And that's
reports as we can from governments and organizations, but the fact of the matter is that introspection is something that we all need to do. And before we turn to the
Personal
children and the
accountability.
teenagers, we must introspect as adults as to what we are doing on our phones every day. We'll leave it there. Gitanjali and Anshul, thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast and sharing your perspective on the regulation of social media and, of course, its harmful effects on children and teenagers. With that, we're slipping into a short break. News and updates will continue on the other side. Thank you very much.